Do you think life is simpler as time evolves? For some, it can be more complicated when facing issues about health, estate plans, probate, long-term care, and more. That's why Attorney-CPA Joe Cordell hosts ElderTalk with TuckerAllen, providing intelligent answers for those thinking about their future. Here's Attorney-CPA Joe Cordell.
Welcome to another episode of ElderTalk. This week, we're going to talk about a topic that relates to health, which is one of our favorite topics, relates to quality of life for seniors, and also, though, is interesting and I think a lot of fun.
I'm really excited about this show.
Yeah, I'll have to credit Jill with the selection of this topic. And it strikes me that this is a marvelous thing for us all to become familiar with. Now, many of you, I'm convinced, have heard of the St. Louis Senior Olympics, but I'm sure some of you have not. I, in fact, did not know much about this at all. I guess I'd heard that such a thing existed, but I didn't know any details.
And maybe you can participate next year.
Well, I'm certainly qualified in terms of age. Physically, maybe not so. But we have with us today, introduce our guest.
Yes, we have Phil Ruben, who is the director of St. Louis Senior Olympics, and we are so happy to have you join us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Phil, let's start with kind of an overview of St. Louis Senior Olympics. It happens how often, and what is the location of the venue, recognizing now we're under a coronavirus shutdown of sorts, or quasi. Tell us a little bit about the St. Louis Senior Olympics.
Sure. So, unfortunately this year, as with many other programs and events in St. Louis and really around the world, we were forced to cancel our event this year. Originally and always, it is always held over Memorial Day weekend. And in the spring and March, we made the announcement that we would postpone until Labor Day weekend this year. And just last week, as the situation in St. Louis and the surrounding areas did not improve as much as many would have hoped, we made that unfortunate and difficult and disappointing decision to not host the St. Louis Senior Olympics in 2020. It's heartbreaking. It means a lot to so many people. It means a lot to me. It was a decision not taken lightly, and for that we're sorry, but no, it was in the best interest of the health and well-being and safety of staff, volunteers, and most importantly, the athletes who are vulnerable to the virus.
Right. And Phil, when did this event start? Can you give us a little history?
Yeah, I'd love to. So it's an annual event. It is, this would have been the 41st annual event. But it started as, it's an interesting story. The St. Louis Senior Olympics is a program of the St. Louis Jewish Community Center, which is a nonprofit in St. Louis. And it was originally scheduled to be a one-time event celebrating the Jays' 100th anniversary, which was in 1980. Some of the board of directors and some volunteer lay leadership saw some of these senior games movements popping up around the country. And, they decided, why don't we take a stab at it? And they threw a bunch of events at the wall and saw what stuck. And a couple hundred people showed up at about a dozen events. And, they wiped their hands clean of it. And, they had a post-games wrap-up meeting, seeing, what they could have done better. And then the letters started pouring in, one after the other, saying, you have to do this again next year. My brother wants to do this. My sister, my friend, I need to train better. You should do this event. You should do that event. And now what was supposed to be a one-time event, we should have been celebrating our 41st year this year.
Wow. What was the reaction like from the athletes? Because you have, 1,200 athletes that participate each year?
Yeah, annually we have 1,200 athletes that participate and 300 volunteers that make this well-oiled machine work. We made the decision in the spring to postpone it, and people understood. And I think, to some degree, it was somewhat expected when we made that ultimate decision to cancel. And actually, it's been very positive. People are complimentary of our work in communicating, in making the right decision. We did have several hundred people sign up for this year, and even the day before, or even right now, if they didn't get the message, are asking still, is it still on? And they want to do it. even throughout the virus, people were signing up regularly. So there are devoted, dedicated senior athletes out there that need this event to happen.
Give us the profile of the people who participate and also the rules. What is required for you to enter?
Sure. The only thing that is required is you must turn 50 by the end of the competition year. So for this year, for example, if you are turning 50 at some point by December 31st, 2020, you are eligible to participate. And so next year and so on, it would be that given year. So next year will be 2021, et cetera. And that's it. That is the only qualification that we require to participate. And so the profile we get, we have competitive events like a full USATF, United States track and field meet. We have cycling races, a full swim meet with 15 different swimming events. And then we have, fun events, what I call field day events, skill events, throwing a softball as far as you can, throwing a frisbee, kicking a football, kicking a soccer ball. We have accuracy targets that you have to throw, a carnival game, if you will, but, a higher scale. You throw a softball or a football through an accuracy target. We have tournament events, backyard games such as shuffleboard, horseshoes, washer toss,
Love
table
washers.
tennis.
That's a St. Louis event.
St. Louis, that's right. Table tennis, badminton. There's over 90 events that you can choose from. And so the message we like to relay to people is anyone can do it. Absolutely, anyone can throw a washer and try to get it in a box and in the pipe. Anyone can throw a softball. We have, last year, we had an 102-year-old throw washers. And you know what? He had competition because people are living longer and healthier lives because of events like the St. Louis Senior Olympics. And it was pushed by survey results and dedicated athletes that a couple of years ago, our oldest age group was 90 and over. And it became too competitive for some. And so we were forced to add a 95 and over categories now, which is our oldest category. And so, a couple of years, we're going to have to add 100 plus, the triple digits.
So you do have subgroups within the age of above 50.
Yeah,
which makes sense.
It's separated by gender and then 5-year age group. So, male and female, 50 to 54, 55 to 59, et cetera, all the way up to 95 plus.
Now, for the events that require more skill, like, say, the run or cycling, do the athletes train all year for this?
Yes. There are other senior competitions around, not directly in St. Louis, but some neighboring counties as well as neighboring states that people travel for. There is a national games movement where you can qualify at a certain event and then move on to the national. So it is a national movement. The people that typically do the more skilled events are training and do those competitive events. I mean, we have, tennis tournaments. So there's a lot of people that play tennis year round. The table tennis tournament, we partner with there's table tennis clubs in St. Louis. There's a shuffleboard club in St. Louis. So we attract a lot of those dedicated, athletes that are, members of those clubs and play recreationally as well as competitively.
Now, let me ask you this. Is there a national organization?
Yes, and actually
that you're affiliated with.
Not that we're affiliated with, but we were the inspiration for the National Senior Games movement because of the St. Louis Senior Olympics. It all started in St. Louis because of our games, and that's where the national office was originally headquartered. And then since has moved, I think, down to Louisiana and now in Florida, I believe. And every other year there's a national games in which you have to qualify for to move on. St. Louis Senior Olympics is the host of the qualifying site for badminton and table tennis. Other than that, the Missouri State Senior Games is where you would have to qualify to be eligible for the national games. This year there were certain exceptions because of COVID, but typically you qualify, this year was not a qualifying year, but you would qualify in one year and then compete. This was a qualifying year for next year. Is the National Senior Games. I believe it's in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Phil, I find it really interesting that even with the pandemic, 700 people signed up for this event.
Yeah, can you believe? Yeah, to the day we were canceling, we were getting registrations in the mail and online until we made that official announcement that we were forced to cancel. So people were dedicated and willing to do it.
Well, give us a sense of the amount of attendance. I mean, how many people might attend some of these events
So
in terms of the audience?
Yeah, so it's, overall between all of the events, we have about 1,200 athletes, as well as about 300 volunteers, and they bring spectators. We encourage spectators. The thing that we love about Senior Olympics is how often has, the parent gone to the child's baseball game or basketball game or dance recital, and then the grandparents go to support them on the weekends as well. Well, this is a role reversal. We encourage the grandkids and the sons and daughters to come and cheer on Grandma and Grandpa as they do their events. And it's really, really exciting, and they oftentimes volunteer as well as the families volunteer to support. And what's really special is when a parent and sibling and child compete together, when the son or daughter is 50 years old and finally gets to compete. They've been seeing their parents compete for years, and finally they're shuffleboard partners, or running together the track, although in different age groups, but cheering each other on, both as athletes in the St. Louis Senior Olympics,
love it,
which is really special. Yeah.
Now, since you're not having the traditional event this year, I understand you're going to offer some virtual events. Can you discuss that?
Yeah, sure. So we have started a Facebook group, part of the Jays, overall Facebook profile, called St. Louis Senior Olympians, and we've already had a few posts of what people are doing to stay active and exercise through the pandemic. And then when the games were supposed to be held over Labor Day, we're going to encourage them to go out and do what the events they were going to do on their own individually. Send us their results, send us pictures or videos of them competing, wearing their old St. Louis Senior Olympic shirts that we'll share on social media and on all of our channels.
If you're just tuning in, with us is Phil Ruben, the director of St. Louis Senior Olympics. Unfortunately, the event was canceled this year. Phil, is this the first time that this event has ever been canceled?
In 40 years.
In 40 years, to my knowledge. I've been around for 16 years, involved with the games. And we've had weather cancellations of certain events, but to my knowledge, I can't say I've been around since 1980. But to my knowledge, that this is the first time an event, the games had to be canceled.
Right. Certainly not due to a pandemic.
No, we did not have them when the Spanish flu was around.
Yes.
100 plus years ago.
So the people who participate in this, it sounds like some of the events are kind of fun events that are not so much something that people would spend the year preparing for, and that people would perhaps approach more as a good time rather than an intense competitive sort of event. Versus when I think of running, I think of some things where you go to these marathons and other places, and I'm just impressed with how intense and focused these people are. I guess you have the counterpart among your contestants in some events, and I assume those events would be what, running, perhaps?
Yeah, the competitive events are running. Some of the tournament. There's the cool thing is that there's a good mixture of people that are out to get the gold medal, but others that are there for the biggest thing that we see over the weekend is the camaraderie. People often see these people one time a year at the St. Louis Senior Olympics, and it's a big thing when you move up to the age group, and then you're the baby, you're the young one, you're the one that everyone's after. But then they go around and cheer and root you on to make sure that to cheer you on to see if you throw the softball a couple inches farther, if you get a couple extra seconds on them in which race. I've seen many of times people holding hands crossing the finish line at the track and field. So it's a really, really special, heartwarming event. When's the last time you saw a 95-year-old run a 50-meter sprint? It's only at the St. Louis Senior Olympics.
Well, that is an exceptional, and I'd say rare blend in which you have both competition and camaraderie. And maybe there's something about having jointly gotten to that point in life, to that age, which is an achievement in itself, depending on how old they are. But assuming, say, they're over 70, which sounds like a good portion of your contestants are. And so it's less about the competitiveness maybe that you see in the 30-somethings in such events, and that there's also competition yet camaraderie, and that's an exceptional combination.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really special. You know, it was with COVID, and when we were playing with the idea of we weren't even playing when we were considering hosting the game still throughout the past several months. First Memorial Day and then Labor Day. One of the things that the committee and the volunteers and the leadership brought up was, how are they going to, show the camaraderie without, fist bumps and handshakes and
Right.
and cheering, being socially distant. That's what's special about Senior Olympics is the camaraderie and the friendships that have formed because of Senior Olympics.
So do you see then the fact that you're missing this year, do you think that it would just magnify next year's event? Or do you think that
I sure hope.
You could lose some momentum? What is the perception among the board and the other leaders of the organization?
I sure hope so. I mean, I think people, will miss it. Obviously this is completely out of all of our control, the cancellation and the pandemic. I think people will be eager, even still, people were eager to do it and get out and be active and do something. We've been socially distancing and quarantining for the past 5 months or so. I think people are eager to get out and exercise and be competitive. But at the same time, I think there's a good portion of people who are going to be cautious in these large-scale events. People gathering may be slow to come back. There's some thoughts with that as well. But, I think overall, when it does come back, it'll be bigger and stronger because they realize what was missed, that the taste of going for the gold medal, the friendships that they missed for, like I said, they see them one time a year, that they're not going to get to see them this year. The friendly competition. It's really a cool event because, there's 1,000 people on the Jays campus in Creve Coeur. Outside, there's a portion of people throwing a softball, then there's the people doing the washer toss, there's people, hitting home run derby. It's a community. I was speaking with a donor recently, a sponsor, who don't get me wrong, this event would not happen at all without the sponsorship support we have from our partners. It's like camp for seniors. It's a community. Everyone wearing their St. Louis Senior Olympics shirt. As the weekend goes on, the medals just clinging around their neck, how proud they are. Some of these people may not have been competitive in high school or in youth sports, but, in St. Louis Senior Olympics, they won a gold medal.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's not uncommon. So in terms of the venue, it sounds like much of it happens around the Jays facility there in Creve Coeur, but I assume that some of these events occur elsewhere, or is it all on that property?
No, of course. So, the St. Louis Senior Olympics is a program of the St. Louis Jewish Community Center. So this serves as our hub, the Steinberg Family Complex in Creve Coeur. We also utilize our other facility, the Maryland Fox Building in Chesterfield, and use about a dozen other venues around St. Louis County, St. Louis City, and St. Charles County. We have bowling events that was scheduled to be at Shrewsbury Lanes this year. We have golf at the Creve Coeur Golf Course, as well as the 18 holes down at Forest Park, darts at Blueberry Hill, cycling at a conservation area in St. Charles County. So we're, across all of the greater St. Louis metropolitan area. Our athletes are not just from St. Louis. We reach 170 zip codes from about a dozen states. People come for the St. Louis Senior Olympics to compete.
So they don't have to live in or near St. Louis. Anybody can come to the St. Louis Olympics.
How far do they come from?
We've had someone come from California. So the cool thing is we've been around for quite some time. We have a great reputation. We are the best and biggest local games, senior games in the area. People have been coming into town because they lived in St. Louis at one point, and they come in because they want to compete in the St. Louis Senior Olympics. Since we are over a holiday weekend, oftentimes people will be traveling into town to visit their families. So, hey, we see a good competition. The St. Louis Senior Olympics are strong. Let's go out and compete. So we've had people come that way. Like I said, we have some qualifying events here where, they may not have been able to go to their more regional qualifying sites. So they come to our event. So they come from all over for various reasons. Obviously we get the St. Louis City, County, St. Charles, those neighboring counties, as well as the Illinois side as well. So regional, but our reach is quite far.
So what decade do you think is most heavily represented? If we define a decade as people in their 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s, which of those decades do you think is the largest percentage?
Sure. So actually, I know this. It's the 65 to 69 age group is the most popular age group, and it's actually it's pretty even, male and female. But it's a pyramid. It's hard to say, but the 50-year-olds don't consider themselves senior yet, although by our standards they are, and so by AARP's as well. So when you turn 50, you're eligible. So it's like a pyramid. So 50 to 54 creeps up, and it peaks at 65 to 69, and then slowly trickles down on the back end, 70 to 74, et cetera.
Do you have your so-called star athletes that win every single year? Do you have those individuals?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, people every 5 years go into a different age group, but there are people that are competitive, and weightlifting is one of the more competitive events, and so that's broken down by age as well as weight class, and so you'll see the same people because they train year-round for these games, and some of the times the same people are near the top of the medal stand, if you will, but sometimes it's totally different, and there's always new athletes that come in, athletes that filter out, but people it's commonplace to brag about how many medals they have, and people have their trophy cases. I've had many people share, pictures and show me their trophy cases of how proud they are for the St. Louis Senior Olympics medals and trophies they've won through the years.
So they do get competitive with each other. I know you said there's a lot of camaraderie, but is there that competitive nature?
Friendly competition, for sure. Yeah, but
you
there's always
some of that.
Right. Yeah, you want some of that, but it's friendly competition. Certainly there's the people that were the high school star or what have you, and they haven't gotten rid of that yet. That fire, if you will, and we'll do whatever it takes to win. But yes, it is. In the end, it is a competition, and we award places and rankings, if you will. But it's friendly banter.
But, you can see how some of those competitions you can't simply drop in on and simply do on a lark or do for fun, which some you can, and it's great that you have those. But then others, like you gave the example of the weightlifters, I mean, those are guys who, they have to be doing that, as you said, year-round. And I would think they would tend to be pretty serious about it because they must be devoted to it, just like the runners for the most part, at least the elite runners.
Sure, yeah. So weightlifting is very competitive. In fact, it was so popular that we moved some of the competitions down to our gymnasium because they attract such a large audience. People bring in their own trainers.
Really? They are serious.
Yeah.
Athletes.
They want that medal.
Sure. So it's strict, in terms of how you bend your legs for the leg press, how you bend your arms for the arm curls. And, we have judges. The Jays fitness trainers are the judges. And so, we've had people DQ and because they don't do it properly. But that's something that someone can just come off the street and be like, oh, let me go try to do an arm curl. First of all, it's unsafe. We don't want anyone to get hurt. But there are people who literally train year-round for this. And, in a year that we would usually have the event, they're so competitive and want to do it right that people that are not necessarily members of the J ask to come into our facility just to test out the arm bar and the leg press that we're going to use so they can get a feel for it.
I have to ask you this question. Do you do drug testing?
No, we do not. We do not do drug testing. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. There's people that have a lot of gold medals. Maybe we should start.
You have to wonder when they come walking in there looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
So another question that I'm inclined to ask, given the ages and the strain involved, have you had any medical incidents at all over the 40 years? Crises, I should say.
Nothing, knock on wood, thank God, nothing significant. We've had some, nicks and bruises, and but we partner with Barnes Jewish Hospital, and we have nurses on site, emergency technicians, who are here for that purpose. So if anything, were to happen, we have emergency protocols in place, as well as many of the J staff are certified in first responders, certified in first aid, CPR, and AED training. And then the nurses are here and the emergency technicians for those significant cases.
Over what period of time does this event occur? Is it a full week?
So it's typically, a holiday weekend. So a
weekend.
For the most part, usually the Thursday it starts before Memorial Day. And the last thing there's on the Tuesday after Memorial Day is the 18-hole golf tournament. So most of the events would take place Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, but there's, a handful of events on Thursday, a handful of events on Friday, but it's about 6 total days, but, most of them it's in 3 or 4.
So 6 days in which the event is occurring in some form, but
correct.
Yeah, but the competition itself sounds like it's over 4, maybe including 5 days if you have an event on Tuesday. Did you say you have golf on Tuesday?
Yeah, the 18-hole golf tournament, there's at least one event over 6 days. The vast majority of them are the Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of the holiday weekend.
Phil, I have to ask, I imagine a lot of the participants or volunteers are widows or widowers. So have you had any romances
Jill's
blossom?
mind would run to this.
Yes, of course it would.
We probably have. I'd have to think about it. But, I'm sure there have. I mean, we have plenty of, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband and wife combinations that compete together.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that, unknowingly I was credited for matching some couples up because of the Senior Olympics. Right. Undocumented, but likely, I would say.
Well, it could be.
If they're listening out there, please let me know. I'd like to take some credit. I didn't get a wedding invitation. So.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't get a gift.
And you could have a component of it as the single Senior Olympics. But the point is, I'm sure that people who've had a loved one die, I've found, they're especially prone to look for events that are kind of have a social aspect, but to kind of fill in that vacancy. And an event like this, I can see where people who would otherwise be lonely as they age, it's a great opportunity to get together with others and to have a whole lot of fun. I just see so many ways in which an event like this is marvelous for seniors. And from any angle you look at it. I mean, health, physical health, emotional health, just
making new friends.
And motivation. I mean, for some people, I imagine that this provides 12 months a year of motivation because they're thinking about this event and they get out and do things even through the winter that perhaps they might not otherwise because they have this challenge in life.
They have something to look forward to every year.
And it is nice to get one of these medals. Who would have imagined you could ever stand on any sort of dais and get any sort of a medal or ribbon related to physical activity for many of us. But for people who are willing to work, it sounds like that's possible with your event.
Yeah, those smiles are so worth it. We have, a step and repeat banner, a backdrop with the Senior Olympics logo and a medal stand last year. And to see these people get on that and smile so proud that with those medals around their neck really makes the hard work that's year round all worth it because they feel good about themselves. They're staying healthy. They're staying active. And we're a part of that. And to answer the comment about the need for Senior Olympics with the social aspect and, if they had a loved one pass, actually just recently this year when we were unsure if the games were going to take place or not, a past athlete called me and who I knew, and he had said that he lost his wife, unfortunately, and, was really hoping to do the Senior Olympics just to get back to it, and use the Senior Olympics as his outlet to get back to reality and, try to, focus on life again. And it makes us feel proud that people are, not only that, but people live and stay healthy because of the St. Louis Senior Olympics. We were featured in a cancer journal just this year. 2 of our athletes are cancer survivors, and the St. Louis Senior Olympics was part of their journey. I'd like to call them a young lady went through all her treatment, and she told her doctors that I'm going to throw the javelin at Senior Olympics. I need to make sure I throw the javelin at Senior Olympics. She wasn't able to walk as well as she wanted, so she couldn't get down to the javelin area that we were throwing, where we, our track and field events at the Principia School in Town and Country.
That's a good facility.
Our volunteers were so dedicated and loved the Senior Olympics so much and loved this young lady so much that we brought the event to her so she didn't have to walk down this steep hill. And so be it, she threw the javelin and was, and got a medal because of in the St. Louis Senior Olympics throughout her cancer process, throughout the treatments, the chemo, the drugs, the the pain that she was feeling emotionally and health wise. But she made her goal of throwing the javelin at Senior Olympics, and I truly believe that kept her alive because she wanted to throw it last year.
That is so inspiring and heartwarming.
Yeah, it makes it much more than simply an Olympics. When you think of the Olympics, you think of a lot of marvelous, encouraging, inspiring things, but this seems to encompass a whole different and additional area, including what you'd think of in an Olympics, but beyond that, it serves purposes that are bigger and greater in the lives of people, perhaps for the most part in the last third of their lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now tell me how this is paid for. This must cost a substantial amount of money to have all these people involved and to coordinate all these things and the expenses out of pocket. Who pays for this?
Sure. So, like I said multiple times, it's a program of the Jewish Community Center. So I am an employee of the J. But as I also mentioned, we could not do this event without the support of our corporate sponsors that make this event go. The athletes do pay registration fees, but as you mentioned, it is a large project that takes a lot of time and financial resources. We also have dedicated volunteers that do a brunt of the work. Every one of those events that I spoke of, the 90 plus events, are run by a volunteer event director. And then there's the hundreds of volunteers that pick up the shot put, measure the distance, fill the water jugs, keep score at shuffleboard, what have you. Without the support of our sponsors, they're really what makes Senior Olympics happen in this community. So Barnes Jewish Hospital, AARP St. Louis, Anthem, Edward Jones, Express Scripts, Insignia, Spectrum Retirement Communities, Eamon Ganter Capriano, Estate Planning Attorneys, the Kuhn Foundation, Mercy, Senior Lifestyle, Signature Medical Group, Southwestern Hearing Centers, Walgreens, Bethesda, Caption Call, Centene, Clean, the Uniform Company, Delmar Gardens, Judy Grand, Sidney Guller, Reuben Brown, Harvey Brown, Drury Hotels, Fisher Bauer Nerps Foundation, and Julian Monty Sandler. So
you have a lot of
without
sponsors.
without their support and contributions, the Senior Olympics would not take place. So, I put a lot of sweat and equity into it. There's no doubt about that. But without them, I wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be talking today.
Yeah, and of course, and I understand that this is organized and it's at the initiative of the Jewish Community Center. But I'm impressed that you've been able to find that many sponsors, because that's quite a list of sponsors. And a number of them would have substantial capability of helping. So you've generated, a lot of giving from a lot of different organizations and businesses.
Yeah, so as we've spoke, a lot of the Senior Olympics is promoting healthy living, active, health and wellness for the community, to provide a healthy living activity and promoting it to, the senior population. That's a lot of these, funders' mission. And also at the same time, the J, we serve 80,000 program participants a year. We have 1 million touch points. We give out $500,000 in scholarship a year. So the J is a good resource for the entire community. So not just Senior Olympics, which is a program of, but, we have an early childhood center at the J. We offer day and resident camping. We have senior and social services. We do arts and culture programming. We serve anyone from 6 weeks to that 102-year-old senior Olympian. So, we touch the entire family and the entire community.
Do you have a program that allows discounts for seniors to get access to your facilities?
So we are partners. We are in the NORC, the Naturally Occurring Retirement Community Program. So if you do live within a certain geographic area, you do have a discount in membership with specific hours to our facility.
So that discount is what, 10, 20, 30%? Is it a substantial discount?
It's a substantial discount from what our membership typically is, yes.
Now, I know you didn't come on this show to talk about this, but what does it cost to gain regular access to all your facilities, your swimming pools, your wonderful workout room, your weight room?
That's a conversation for the next radio show, the next time you invite me back. But, we have memberships for everyone. So we have an individual, we have corporate memberships, we have a single parent family, we have, adult add-ons, we have family, we have memberships for just one building, we have memberships for both buildings, we have summer memberships. So what I can do is, if you are interested in membership, we are open to the community right now. So, I know some gyms are closed due to COVID, but the J is welcoming, and we are open, to limited capacity to what the guidelines are currently. And we're clean. We close a couple times during the day to clean, so we're safe and healthy. But if you would like to get more information on membership, please call the sales department at the J, 314-432-5700, and they will walk you through everything that you need.
Yeah, y'all have two great facilities, and I assume there are just two then, right? The one in Chesterfield and the one in Creve Coeur?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, really impressive facilities.
I have not seen them, but I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, if you're wanting fitness and you want a place to work out, you can't ask for a better range of equipment.
Jill, when things clear up, we right now we're unfortunately not allowing guests in our fitness center, but I will give you a guest pass. It's on me. Hold me to it.
I'll
give you a personal
I would love
tour.
that.
When knock on wood, this thing settles down pretty soon.
Hopefully.
I'd love to have you to the J to check us out.
Thank you. I will take you up on that invitation.
So do you coordinate then with other senior organizations in St. Louis to stimulate participation? What's your relationship with other senior organizations?
We always, reach out to other senior organizations. I did mention a couple senior living communities that are partners as sponsors. But I'd really like to call out AARP St. Louis. They've been a partner of ours for many years, and they do a great job promoting our event, nationally, as well as locally. So, not only are they a sponsor of our event, but they have what they call Team AARP. I talked about this camp in this community. So we also give out shirts, but they give out their own shirts. And so you'll see 100+ people walking around Senior Olympics all in the red shirts, Team ARP. And they're so proud to be part of that. So they do cover the cost to them. There are registration fees, and they get extra bonuses by being part of that team. But they really share our mission of with the Senior Olympics of promoting healthy living, active living, health and wellness, healthy and active living. So it's just a natural partnership.
If you're just tuning in, our guest joining us is Phil Ruben, the director of St. Louis Senior Olympics. Phil, you mentioned earlier in the show that many of your athletes did not participate in sports when they were in high school. So this, I guess you could say, it's giving them a second chance at doing so?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, if they weren't competitive or athletic or participated in sports, back in, high school, and, for some of the, elder seniors, for females especially, it wasn't even allowed. So we've had,
Right.
Female athletes who do Senior Olympics because they weren't allowed to do it when they were, younger. And that's why they compete in Senior Olympics, because we're giving them an outlet and a competition to compete against their peers. But yeah, there's some that, aren't really that competitive or athletic, but you know what? They can pick up the softball or they can pick up the Frisbee and throw it, and they can feel good about it.
Who would you say is more competitive, the men or the women?
Men, for sure.
The men?
Yeah, it's always
yeah.
the case.
And it's more competitive. The younger they are, the more competitive usually.
Let me ask you to kind of give us a sense for over these 90 events that are so that you do. If we have somebody listening today, and this is what I'm hopeful is one of the effects of this show, is that someone who's looking for a goal, looking for something to motivate them over the next year. Let's assume that you're on track, that you have the event as planned, which I fully believe you will next year. I don't believe, as some do, that our experience with this virus is going to discourage people attending such events in the future. I just find that utterly unbelievable. I think that once we wipe out the virus, then we get back to normal, in which case somebody today can be thinking about what could I do to excite me over the next year for a goal that would get me out of the house, get me doing something productive. And this would be a marvelous thing to focus on over that period of time. But then someone would think, okay, there are 90 events. Gee, what should I do? These events are listed on what website?
Our website is stlouisseniorolympics.org, and it's St. Louis, senior spelled out, olympics.org.
So people can go there and peruse that list of 90 events and perhaps pick out more than one. I assume that a number of the people who come to this participate in multiple events. Is that correct?
Because it's one price and you get unlimited events. So, people are here all weekend and, they're here from 8 to 5, and they're running around, from the track back to the J down to Blueberry Hill, trying to get in all their events, get their money's worth, if you will. And then, when they can't, they yell at me that there were too many events for them to choose from, and we should spread it out for them.
I don't know which event I would choose out of 90 myself.
But I can just see that as a really exciting, motivating thing to do, and this is really the time to start thinking about it. Not a month in advance of the event,
Right.
But right now, for people listening to this show, what an opportunity to give them something to focus on over the next year or so. And it's exciting, it's challenging. They get to choose the particular form that might take. And of course, you have all the standard stuff. We haven't mentioned swimming, have we? But you do swimming.
Yeah, we do have a swimming meet, full meet. There's 15 events that are within the swimming meet.
And the largest participation is the running?
There's about 200 people that do track and field. So we have all the field events as well. So shot put, discus, javelin, and just it may be a shock to many, but we offer pole vault.
I was going to ask you that if you
and we
did
always,
pole
yeah,
vaulting.
we get about
a
a dozen or so people that do that every year. And so to see a 70-plus-year-old person take that 10-foot long pole and run up and stick it in the ground and get over that bar, it's pretty impressive because
now
I'm not that age and I can't even do it. Nor have I ever tried.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. And you would think that there would be a lot of potential for injury if someone got above 90 years old.
Well, my husband did it in high school and injured his back. So, that's pretty impressive that someone, a senior citizen could do it without injuring him or herself.
But I do think that this show is timely because this is the opportunity that our listeners have to think about doing something probably very different from what they've done in the past. Or some people listening may, in fact, be swimming occasionally, running occasionally, or doing some of these activities, even on a regular basis, but not with great zeal or enthusiasm, passion even. And this might very well be the fuel for that sort of commitment. So I see a lot of potential here. Do you have people who communicate before the event, like months? I know that they may meet each other there and then form a relationship, but is it common for you to have a bulletin board or some other means by which people communicate leading up to the event to know who else is going to be in it?
Yeah, so not typically. This year, as I mentioned, we're trying to do this social media outreach and hope that takes the case. So if next year, if someone's looking for a partner for shuffleboard, they can chat in the room or in the on this group and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a partner for shuffleboard." But people may or may not be members of the J, so they may or may not work out here, but they may work out together at a different facility or, like I said, the shuffleboard club. And I know there's a lot of communication on the outside, and a lot of these people, they travel together to other senior games or at least participate in other ones as well. So, but in the end, they all come back to us and say we're the best. So that's always
now,
good to
assuming
hear.
the event happens next Memorial Day weekend, what is the deadline to register?
So typically in a normal year, it would be the end of April. It's about a handful of weeks out, about a month out or so. There, as you can imagine, as we've said, there's a lot of work that go into it. So the 90 events, we have to run reports for everyone that's in that competition as well as each age group, prepare the results pages for the directors, and just prepare the tournaments, prepare the events. There's a lot of data entry. We've increased our rate of online registration through the years, which takes away some of the manual data entry. But we're about 70% or so still that are mailing in entry forms and doing paper versus the online.
So we're running out of time. If somebody has some follow-up questions about this, should they submit those online, or is there someone they can call and talk to?
Sure. I am the best person to contact for the St. Louis Senior Olympics. So if you did not catch at the beginning, my name is Phil Ruben. You can call me at any time, 314-442-3216. And my email address is RUBEN @jccstl.org. And you can Google or look up the JCC website, and there's contact information there. I'm more than happy to help anyone. I love to talk about Senior Olympics to anyone that wants to listen.
So it sounds like the JCC website is the easiest way to sort of find your way to Phil Ruben and the St. Louis Senior Olympics on that site.
Yeah, jccstl.com.
Marvelous information. We thank you, Phil. And we've got to circle back for you to give us an update as to how the event's coming together.
Good. Yeah, I'd love to come back on the show in preparation of next year. I'm easy to get a hold of. You can call me at any time. Be happy to talk.
And that wraps up another episode of Elder Talk. Till next week, take care.
You've been listening to Elder Talk with TuckerAllen, providing intelligent answers for those thinking about their future, with Attorney-CPA Joe Cordell. Sponsored by TuckerAllen, your estate and elder law advisors. For more information, visit TuckerAllen.com. Listen again next Saturday for another edition of Elder Talk with TuckerAllen. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.